Welcome to our family square foot garden part 3. I just want to give you an update on where things are in the garden. Every one of my square feet now have been planted, and I'm starting to think that I don't have enough. So one of the rules about gardening is if you want more to do, then you probably don't have a big enough garden. So I might have to add to it in the not too distant future. But I'm going to walk you through how things are progressing and show you the finished compost bin, or mostly finished compost bin, and I'll do that right now. So I'm going to go down to the two bins that are, or two boxes that are right off my deck. This is my herbs and flowers, and they're progressing along pretty well. The coreopsis, is those yellow flowers there, has really been blooming, and I told you earlier about the yellow coneflower, which is this. I thought it might actually die on me, but it seems to be kind of bouncing back in the last couple days, and the glade flower is just about ready to show all its beauty, so that'll be fun. And this Missouri primrose has got a bud on it. You can see that there in the center of the screen, and so that a couple of them actually. I look in there now, I see a couple of them, so I'm excited to have that. And some chive, the flower on the chive is coming through, and this one will have opened while it's been here in my garden, so I'm going to go ahead and eat that. I guess you can eat it, so I'm going to do that. So I've added some oregano that friends gave to us, and purple sage. One thing I'm not sure about are these little plants. I was assuming that these were the fennel plants because we had planted some fennel seeds in this part of the square foot garden, but those sorts of plants seem to be growing up in other places besides just these 2 square feet. They only started there, so I'm just going to let them grow for a while. They might just be weeds, but I don't know if that's the case or not. The dill is growing, so we're excited about that. These are little baby Shasta daisies, the basil and sage, rosemary, parsley. I've been quizzing my kids on what all these things are so that they can learn about them too. So the parsley that I grew from seed is growing, as well as some of the chives are going along as well. So I'm excited about that, and seen a lot of progress since the last video, which was just about 2 weeks ago, just in this part of our garden as well, going down the steep hill. I wanted to show you first the finished compost bin. I showed you this before and said that I was going to be putting on the doors, which I have done, the front part of it. If I can kind of back out, actually. Just kind of these, see how it slides up? So I just slid that up, and you can see the compost bin that started back down there, and then I'll just slide this back down there. So it's finished, started the compost, and I know it'll take a while. I'll take it back around to the main part of the garden. I added this little wire to my gate, which still is not painted, which has been a big help because it almost acts like a spring on the door. You can hear that slam behind you. Radishes. This has been kind of funny because they're not getting very big. You can see some of it right there. The radishes, you can see some of them. I'm going to add a little more soil to the top of that. But I've pulled them, and they're just not very big. They're about 5 weeks old now. I guess I planted them in April, April 26th. So about 4.5 weeks, I guess. But they're not getting big. But the onions seem to be doing pretty well. I did add some more of Mel's mix to the onions just to kind of give them a better covering. I felt like they weren't doing real well that way. Green onions are growing, and lettuce. This is actually mesclun. I grabbed some and just kind of transplanted it to another area, and it's doing pretty well. Beans are growing here, doing pretty well. I'm going to have to add their poles. In theory, these are pole beans, but we'll have to see. And then the zucchini is starting to grow, so I'm going to have to give it some help. You can tell maybe that the leaves are a little bit brown. My neighbor thinks that's because of the wet weather. I hope that's the case. Spinach, doing okay. And then these beets have been not doing very well at all. They're kind of old. I mean, I planted them quite a while ago, but not seeming to do real well. This tomato, I went ahead and just got one what I thought was a purple tomato. Turned out to be Boxcar Willie. So I'm not sure what that's going to be like, but I thought I was grabbing it from a bunch of purple tomatoes, but I was disappointed to see that Boxcar Willie was the label on it when I got it home, but I still thought I should go ahead and just plant it, and I'll just see how that does. Potatoes are doing pretty well. I can see next year maybe having just a whole thing of potatoes if these turn out pretty well. Beans, muskmelon there, cantaloupe. I planted some more Roma tomatoes, thinking that if we get a lot of tomatoes, that'll be good, and we'll be able to can them or freeze them or do something with them. So we'll figure that out when the time comes, which will probably come sooner than think. More radishes. Again, you know, there are lots of greenery on them, but no radishes worth eating yet. I'm not sure if it's just because it's been so wet and cool here. You can tell these peppers still continue not to grow very well, and these tomatoes are doing pretty well. I did go ahead and add the strings to them. You can see that there are strings holding them up, so I'll have to tighten those. And then I added for the peas a trellis for that. More tomatoes. Eggplants are doing okay. The corn's doing okay. Lettuce is doing pretty well. I'll be able to eat some of that here pretty soon. Then over here I went ahead and built another trellis for cucumbers and watermelon. And then I planted some acorn squash, so that's just coming up now as well. More tomatoes and mesclun, and that's our garden. It's coming along very nicely. All the square feet are planted, and I'm thinking that I'm going to go ahead and add more square foot for the fall, but I'll see. I haven't done all my planning yet. And thanks for watching our family square foot garden part 3.